Hey, look what it is.
Ooh.
See that? Whenever you see that, you realize you've come to the end of where we've cleared the trail, because that's my little tiny chainsaw that I put in my pack saddles for clearing trails. Now in this case, we've got another 100 feet before we're actually out of it, because I cleaned that to clear some up. But we'll go up and tie up. I'll come back and get it. Hey! Ah! We're almost there. This will be it right here. Ooh. Ooh, now this, we've got generally, we do not tie to old dead crags because they're not trustworthy. And if they pull one and take off, you're gonna lose your whole outfit. This one's all right. This mule's tired enough. I doubt he's gonna really want to take this tree anywhere. Use a clove hitch and an overhand for a lock nut. I have put in here my drinker, very important. I have right here what my chainsaw drinks, very important. The blue stuff, that's actually in the wrong container, but I have it here. I'm gonna go get my sharpener for my chainsaw, and I'm gonna get my adjuster for the chain. And look where we are. Can you see that ridge? We are literally 50 feet from the top of that cliff that you guys saw down there that looked impossible. It pretty much is impossible. I've never seen anybody take a horse up it in a lifetime. But the view from the other side of this ridge, I'm telling you what, it's totally worth it. So now there's a trail up here. Now, it's not the best trail right now. It's a doable trail. But in time, it's going to be a beautiful trail. And we'll have, you know, probably a dozen horses that do it regularly enough they know where every rock is. It'll be a safe trail, doable trail, fun trail. But they don't get there on their own, man. You know, you have to build them. What I do is follow the elk. The elk are pretty efficient at making trails, so I see where they go seasonally in the snow. I see where they put their droppings and where they eat, and then I follow their trails and just kind of enhance them. And I tell the guys that go with me, the greatest compliment I ever get as a trail builder is when I see the elk start to use my trail and the deer start to use my trail. I'm not too impressed when the big old fat beef cows use my trail, because they're just looking for an easy way up and down. But when the stock use it, or when the wildlife use it, you know you're building it just right. All right, so most people in the world know me as a horseman and not a trail cleaner. Since that's what we're doing today, and since most of those people that ride on those trails wouldn't be riding on those trails if I hadn't built them and cleaned them, it's important that you know the process. Here's a little secret for you. That's the oil for my chainsaw. It comes in containers this big. Why don't I bring a container that big? Well, if I know I'm going for the day and I know how much oil I'm going to use, why bring the big container and make my animal pack it? I put it in a little Gatorade deal and I'll have enough. This is a tiny little chainsaw. This one's, I call the Mosquito. I have chainsaws that are big enough to cut down a redwood. This is a Steel 170. Now, I don't imagine I'm going to get an endorsement from Steel Chainsaw, but let me just tell you what, they're good. I've been using cleaning trails with Steel chainsaws forever and ever. And I've had Husqvarnas, and I've had Home Lights, and I've had McCulloughs, and I've had, if you can name a chainsaw, I've tried it, because I use them up, I use them a lot, I wear them out. On one side of my family, they're all loggers, timbermen, and saws are a pretty big deal. But when I was in the Amazon jungle looking for lost cities, I looked at these little guys that cut logs out of that jungle mahogany. They're barefooted. What they're wearing around their gooch looks like a diaper. It's just little, that's all they got, barefooted, naked little Navajos running through the jungle. And they will be packing a steel chainsaw. Now, when you have one purchase in your life, they build their houses out of sticks, they build their life out of the jungle. They only have one purchase that they ever have to spend their whole, a year's wages on. Do you think they're gonna foul that purchase up? You won't see any other brand but steel chainsaws in that jungle, because they are German made and they last and they hold up, and once you learn how to maintain them, you can count on them. Okay, so anyway, that's what I think of steel chainsaws. Now I'm going to show you how I maintain this little rascal. First of all, I loosen the side plate just a couple of turns, maybe 3. Now this one is different. My big chainsaws, the adjuster's right there, but because these are such little outfits, it's right here. Put your little tool in there and you turn it, and you see that chainsaw blade coming up tight. Turn it just till it's about snappy tight. On these little ones you have to do it a little tighter because they're just tiny and the blades are tiny, and the only reason we use them instead of the big saws is it's just lighter for my animals to pack, and it's not as expensive, so I just leave it here every day. Now, I have been stolen from, and if I ever find the pot licker, sorry, I was going the wrong way. If I ever find the guy that stole my steel chainsaw, nobody else is going to find him. Let's just put it that way, because I can make him the nicest little Viking pyre out of cedar wood up here with that chainsaw, and then torch him off, because I do not like thieves, and I do not like people messing with my steel. Now, when I say steel, I'm not talking about that steel. I don't like people messing with my steel, but my friend will tell you I trade horses, I trade dogs, I trade trucks, I trade everything. But I never sell my guns, I never trade my guns, I never trade my knives. Anything that's made out of steel, my blades and my guns, they stay with me for life, because you can never have too many. And if you have a good one and you keep a good edge on it, you'll have it forever and it'll work well. Now, see this little tiny file? I take this little tiny file. Now, I just eyeball it. There's obviously guides, but these things won't hold up very long. So I just take the edge off of that, and I don't worry about that burr. Like if you were sharpening your knife, you'd worry about that burr. I don't, because in about 3 rotations, it's going to be off of there. Then I skip the other pointing one, and I go to this one. So I'm doing all the same direction first. Then when I come back, I flip the saw around and I do all the other directions. That just keeps you from rotating each time. And I just take a little bit. Notice I'm taking a little bit. The reason why is if you're not maintaining your saw, they get all dulled up. You got to hack away on them forever. Just like anything else in this world, maintenance is better. It is better to prepare and prevent than to repair and repent. Remember that. It applies to just about every facet of life. Maintain your blade. Keep your eye on your gear. Treat it well. All right, so like I said, most people know me as a horseman that trains wild horses in the mountains. Most people don't know me as a trail cleaner, but I build all these trails and I ride all these trails. When I moved here, there were 0 trails. Now there are trails all over the West, and so it takes a lot of work to build them. But you'll also notice I generally have Tony Lama's tall top bullhide boots to here, right? Today I have some hiking boots that hold up. The reason why is because I tear the crap out of them. And I don't want to tear the crap out of my good boots, and my spurs hook on rocks and I fall down. So I try not to do any more hiking and trail building in my spurs and boots than I have to. And I put on my hiking boots when I'm clearing trail. But there's a danger in that, and I don't want people doing the same thing and getting hurt. Hiking boots have tread on them. They don't slip in and out of a stirrup very well. And they're fat, they're wide. And so most stirrups, you can jam them in, but you can't get them out. Some of the really wickedest wrecks I've seen in the mountains with guides and outfitters is a client that has these Thinsulate padded boots or something. The guide or the outfitter doesn't have the huge oversized stirrups. You'll notice I have them on all my saddles. Or tapaderos that come over the nose of the stirrup and keep your foot from going through. But even then, it won't let your foot out. It is more important to be able to get your foot out of a stirrup than into it. That's a fact. Because if you get in a wrecky situation and you got to get out of there and you're cutting leather, your foot hangs up and that animal spooks and blows. Just look at this rock. How would you like to be grated like some Parmesan cheese over that rock while your mule or an Arabian takes you for 30 miles of I just got spooked, I'm really sorry. So anyway, you can see my gears laying here. The key to trail building is pick the rock up. It's on the high side. Put it on the low side. I generally have gloves because I smash my fingers all the time. Then you take your rocks that are high and you kick them down into that groove. Then as the animals travel along, your horses and whatnot, they're gonna dig up this soft stuff and they're gonna flatten it out. I like my trails to be about 30 inches wide, just big enough to comfortably take your stock on, but a four-wheeler or motorcycle doesn't like them. So they're about 30 inches wide. We try to stick to all established trails that the stock or the wildlife have already put in there. We just kind of clear them, make them so you can get by. I don't pop trails that are just bizarre to nowhere for no reason. And my arrangement with the Forest Service is I don't, sometimes they'll supply tools, never people to help, because they always go home and say that sucker worked from 6 a.m. till way after dark. We're never going with him again. But I have a passion for it. Here's the bottom line about trails. You make a way for people to get somewhere efficiently. If it's the best way, they'll stick to it and the trail will get better over the years. If you have a crappy trail like some of these guys that fall off the turnip truck, get graduated in Boston, go to work for the Forest Service, and they don't know anything about rocks, trees, mountainsides, grades, elevation, they build these crappy trails. The horses don't use them, the cows don't use them, the deer don't use them, the elk don't use them, and so you'll notice they go derelict. And then they'll go up and clear them, and then they'll get some money and they'll go clear them again, and they're just crappy trails. If you stick to the places that the Indians travel, and then you make that a place that you travel, those Indians, just like the wildlife of 1,200 years ago, they didn't waste steps, they go. So when you're building trail, of course, you gotta have chainsaws, you gotta have bars, shovels, you gotta have all kinds of stuff. This is a little one, like I say, so you can open it that easy. You notice my saddlebags on my mule are oversized. They're great big. That's so they'll hold a great big jug of fuel. I put this fuel in one of those DEF containers. I hope it doesn't foul it up. And then I put my oil in something small and I put it in my bags, and then I know how much work I'm going to do and how much it's going to take. So first thing I do is the fuel. See how this thing functions as a gas filler upper. Pretty good. Oop. Right to the top. Now I got DEF in my eye. You can say I'm blind and deaf at the same time. All right, and this is where I put my oil. Yeah, those little spouts flip up.
Oh yeah.
Learn something new every day. Pour that in there. In the winter, this stuff gets just as slow as honey. Barely moves through the jug when it's really cold. Now I just screw mine hand tight on these little ones. Make sure, and then I take my thing and just give them a snug. I've already sharpened the chainsaw blade, and I've already tightened the chainsaw blade. Now if this thing does what it's supposed to do, I put it clear down there. Next one. We're ready to do some. This is where this trail comes up to. Ready for, here's my swan shot. Ready, the canyon. Trail Builders Anonymous. Hi, I'm Ole. I'm addicted to building trails because can't be afraid to get humble and dirty if you're gonna make the trail a little better. Every little stone that doesn't bruise the next hoof is work well worth it. There you go. That will come, but it'll need a bar. Hodag maybe. Those of you who don't know what a hodag is, it is not a reference to anything you're thinking of. It's an actual tool. I think the correct name of it is a Pulaski. Forest Service uses it all the time. But I said the other day we need to get a hodag in here to do this. I had a little girl on my trail ride that was terribly offended. And I says, well, are you a hoe or a dag? I guess maybe. I know that term came a long time before the politically incorrectness of it caught up. So if I start now trying to be politically correct, especially with some of the terms that happen on a ranch, they'll have me in an orange suit on Maury Povich before the end of the day. Well, I hope you enjoyed riding crazy trails and cleaning a few trails with us today. Maybe you learned something you can use at home. Maybe you'll never clear a trail, but at least you got to see how they get here and how we make them. It's a lot of fun to make them, and it's a lot of fun to make videos that people can enjoy. I'll let you know a little secret. These trails we build, they're not really for us. They're for you. Come and ride with us sometime.